styles, everyday finds, one place. Welcome to Shack Shop, your go-to online store for women's fashion and must-have essentials. From trendy outfits to lifestyle items you didn't know you needed, it's all here. Easy shopping, great prices, new arrivals dropping often. Shop smarter. Shop Shack Shop. Visit us online today.
A nation obsessed with manners, but only sometimes. America woke up this week to another all-hands-on-deck media emergency. The offense? A single, unmistakable gesture from President Donald Trump during a public appearance at an industrial facility. The reaction? Wall-to-wall cable MEMS panels, breathless social media outrage, and a full-blown lecture on presidential decorum. If you listened closely, you might have thought this was the first time a modern president ever lost his temper in public. It wasn't. But in today's political climate, context matters less than optics, and consistency matters least of all. During a factory tour, Trump encountered a heckler who hurled accusations tied to the latest political fixation circulating online. The exchange escalated quickly. Trump responded with a crude gesture and a sharp verbal dismissal, an unmistakable enough is enough moment that was caught on camera and instantly weaponized by critics. Within minutes, headlines framed the episode as a collapse of presidential dignity. Commentators described it as shocking, unbecoming, and beneath the office. What was missing from much of that coverage was any acknowledgement of how often similar conduct has occurred before, particularly from leaders now defended by the very same critics. The response from major networks was immediate and theatrical. Panels were convened. Former officials were invited on air to shake their heads solemnly. Terms like norms, tradition, and respect were deployed repeatedly, as if they had been carefully stored away for just such an occasion. Some networks devoted entire segments to analyzing the symbolism of the gesture, its historical implications, and whether it would damage America's standing on the world stage. The implication was clear. This was not merely inappropriate, it was unprecedented. Except, of course, it wasn't. Political observers with functioning memories quickly began circulating clips from prior administrations that told a different story. Footage from the 2020 campaign era showed then-candidate Joe Biden snapping at voters, dismissing questions, insulting critics, and at times responding angrily when challenged. Those moments were largely excused, minimized, or ignored altogether at the time. When Biden lashed out verbally, it was framed as passion. When Trump does it, it's framed as danger. Same behavior, different headlines. For years, Americans were told that the greatest crisis facing the republic was a lack of decency in leadership. We were promised a return to civility, empathy, and restraint. Yet during the Biden years, public scolding of voters, aggressive rhetoric, and visible irritation were routinely explained away as human moments. Now, suddenly, decorum is sacred again. The question many Americans are asking isn't whether Trump's gesture was polite. It wasn't. But why outrage is selectively enforced. This disconnect between elite expectations and public sentiment is nothing new. In fact, it may explain why moments like this resonate with Trump supporters rather than alienate them. To many voters, the gesture wasn't offensive. It was authentic. It looked like a politician reacting the way a normal person might when verbally attacked, not polished, not rehearsed, not sanitized by focus groups. And in an era where voters increasingly distrust institutions, authenticity often matters more than etiquette. The accusation shouted at Trump referenced Jeffrey Epstein, a figure who has become a recurring symbol in online political warfare. What's notable isn't that Epstein is mentioned, it's when he's mentioned. During Biden's presidency, Epstein was rarely invoked by mainstream commentators. No nightly panels, no endless speculation, no moral panic. Now, suddenly, the topic is treated as an urgent indictment, but only when politically convenient. That inconsistency fuels skepticism far more than any hand gesture ever could. Outrage in modern politics is no longer about standards, it's about signaling. Being angry publicly is now a form of social currency. The louder the condemnation, the truer the credentials. Networks don't ask, is this behavior unique? They ask, can we monetize this reaction? And so the cycle continues. This is no longer the era of carefully scripted press conferences and stiff formalities. Politics in 2026 is raw, chaotic, and relentlessly adversarial. Candidates are called extremists, criminals, threats to democracy, sometimes all in the same sentence.
Against that backdrop, pretending that a rude gesture is the ultimate transgression feels detached from reality. Many Americans see the outrage not as moral concern, but as hypocrisy dressed up as virtue. When critics scold Trump supporters for tolerating his behavior, they overlook something critical. Those supporters have been watching the double standards for years. They've seen insults excused when politically aligned. They've seen aggression reframed as strength, but only from certain leaders. They've seen the rulebook rewritten mid-game. So when they're told to be offended now, the response is often indifference or defiance. Civility cannot be a one-way street. If civility truly matters, it must apply universally. If insults are unacceptable, they must be condemned regardless of who delivers them. If gestures are beneath the office, then so are sneers, insults, and dismissive contempt, no matter the party. Without consistency, calls for decorum become just another political tool. This moment isn't really about a finger or a phrase, it's about trust. A growing segment of the country no longer trust media institutions to referee behavior fairly. They see outrage as tactical rather than principled. Until that trust is rebuilt, every controversy will be interpreted through the lens of bias, and every lecture will ring hollow. Was the gesture polite? No. Was it shocking? Hardly. Was the reaction predictable? Absolutely. In a political culture where rhetoric has escalated to extremes, pretending that outrage is about manners rather than power is increasingly unconvincing. Americans are not demanding perfection from their leaders, they're demanding honesty and fairness. And until outrage is applied evenly, moments like these will continue to divide rather than persuade.